Hello, Michael. How you doing?
Michael K. Williams. Look at that. Hug for Jim. What's going on, man?
I am still getting props for your show opening.
Oh, that's one of the greatest things in my life.
That is it's starting to become one of the highlights of my career, bro. It's like, I thought I was doing you a favor. Dude, you did me a favor. People love that shit.
Yeah.
This thing is like, I feel like it's fucking flapping.
It's on them. We're on. But thank you for saying that.
Yeah, we're live. We can curse.
Oh, yeah,
We're live.
you can curse. That's nice that you said that. Michael's talking about when he opened my
That's even
my
nicer
special.
that he didn't know we were on the air.
I did.
Yeah.
Because he could have just been kissing your ass because we were on
No,
the air. He
I
didn't
swear
know.
to God.
No, he's just being nice. Yeah, it's funny. That's one of my favorite things that you did that. That's one of the highlights of my career.
Bro, I think it's mine. I swear to God. Someone just stopped me the other day and was like, dude, asked me what kind of person you are. And it was like, holy shit. I was like, I got my cool points.
Yeah, I have had a couple of unusual openings. I've had that was one of them. I got De Niro in one, and I had Ozzy Osbourne in the other. It's like all my favorite people in different areas. So yeah, you're in great company. By the way,
I feel honored.
yours is one of the ones that helped me. When I asked De Niro to do it for the next one, I sent yours. To go like, this is how
And
we
he loved it?
They loved it. Yeah, I watched the prior openings, and there was Ozzy in one and you in this one, and I sent them, and that was one of the things that convinced him to actually do it. Was he saw legit guys had done it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I owe you a lot.
Well, love, all love. You already know.
Thank you, buddy. And you look really good, and you look happy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're high? All right. All right, you're a little high. I understand that.
I'm just playing.
Congratulations on... By the way,
Wake and Bake puts people in a good mood. It really.
I thought he
wish
was happy to
everybody
see me. I forgot people vape.
I wish everybody would do that.
With this vape, right?
Yeah, it would make for better interviews. And like everybody coming in here in a good
chill,
mood.
You know, come in a good mood.
Right.
Yeah, people can travel with that now. They don't bother you in the airport with it, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Not yet, anyway.
I haven't heard. I mean, I don't know. I've heard they haven't bothered you in the airport.
Right,
That's
right.
what I heard.
From your own
Yeah.
experience, you would have no idea.
I would have no idea, none whatsoever.
But people that you would never associate with, you haven't heard from them.
No,
Right.
rumor has it that they never.
Right.
How much fun is like you really every time I see you, you're happier and happier, and it's like since The Wire ended, you've done nothing but work. Like you literally have done nothing but work.
You know what? Man, life has been good on a personal level, man. Like, number one is my nephew, Dominic DuPont, who was incarcerated for 20 years. He got Clemens by Governor Cuomo and just came home on January 28th.
Oh, wow.
So this is going to be his first Easter home, and
Wow.
my mom's is making a huge deal over it. You know what I mean? And so it's just our family's been reunited. I started a nonprofit organization, MKW, Making Kids Win. That he's going to be him and my niece are going to helping me lay the foundation work for the groundwork for it. I just recently wrapped my documentary alongside Matt Horowitz and David Lavin with Shane Smith for HBO. It's called a working title is called Diamond in the Rough, and it's surrounding the the juvenile criminal justice system of America. I'm super proud of that. So I've been finding my, I guess, purpose in life.
Yeah. You're taking this great thing, like your acting career, and you're doing other stuff with it. It's opening doors for you to allow to do stuff that you want to do as a person.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What were the circumstances that led to your cousin getting out of jail?
He did the work. It's by nothing special of having me as an uncle. He did the work. He 20 years, a pristine record, no incidents, no
How
tickets.
old when he went in?
He went in at 18 years old.
And what for?
He went in for second-degree murder. His twin brother was being accosted by a group of men over a girl, kids,
Yeah.
And he went to defend his brother. He made a bad decision by taking an illegal firearm to do this, but we're from Brooklyn. It was in the projects, right? So that's what we did, and he went to diffuse a situation, but it escalated, and the gun went off, and unfortunately, another human being lost their life, and he spent the next 20 years of his life in prison, but he didn't. That moment. He's not defined by that moment. He went in as a young boy, and he grew up in there, got his education, got married, started programs in there to help mentor young men coming in behind him, and did that without ever having one incident, not one blotch on his record. Who out here in the free world can say in 20 years they haven't had nothing on their record?
How did he meet the girl he married? That's amazing to me, because guys in jail are getting married, and I literally can't get laid on the outside. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with guys who do that.
Jim, I bet you could get laid in jail.
In jail, I'd be a hero. You kidding me? Oh, I'd be a hero. I'd have a fluffy pink pillow. They'd love me in jail. So how did he meet this woman? Was she involved with this case, or was it like somebody who knew the attorney?
What are we?
Oh, is that a bad question?
That's him right there.
Oh, congratulations!
Wait, it's you?
That's him.
You want to step up? Yeah.
I didn't know you were here. You didn't say. Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
Hi,
talking
buddy.
about him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. What a great story. I was just thinking, like, if you go when you're 18, that means like 20 years feels like it's a lifetime, but you come out at 38, you have more than a lifetime
40.
ahead of you.
Just made 40.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Definitely.
So how did you meet the girl? I'm amazed by guys who are locked up and who get married. How did you meet her?
Definitely. So actually, I knew my wife prior to me being incarcerated. So there was already a relationship. We were friends in the community, and that friendship developed into a marriage. Primarily because of, her understanding the circumstances that surrounded the incident, and her just saying, listen, I want to be here to support you. It grew into something that I consider just great. Our relationship has been phenomenal. We're going on 17 years being married, and it's been a great experience. So.
How did you find out you were about to get out? Like, who told you, hey, look, they said yes?
Right. So that was interesting. So that started, the clemency process is a very long process. It's the governor essentially saying, we are going to extend mercy. And
Sorry to interrupt you. What was your sentence? Was it life without parole?
No. So actually, my sentence was 25 years to life. I had just turned 18 years old, just turned 19, when this incident had happened. And I had lost essentially some of my teens in prison, all of my 20s, all of my 30s, and actually started my 40s when the announcement was made by the governor's office that they were going to grant 61 individuals clemency. And 59 of those people were already in the community. There were 2 people that were incarcerated. I was one of those individuals.
Wow.
And you got the phone call. And what's it like? But the time you get the phone call to the day you walk out, are you panic stricken that something's going to happen, or something's going to go wrong,
or they're going to take it back, or something?
Yeah, right.
That's what I'd be worried about.
Well, you know what? It's a very long process. It's something that's very nerve wracking because you just don't know what type of decision the governor will ultimately make. So yeah, there was definitely some concerns about, how things will go. But, I felt, safe. I had been in prison, like Michael had indicated, almost 20 years. I served 20 years, 7 months, 18 days. And the announcements were made on December 27th. I was released January 22nd. So yeah, there was that, those few weeks where I was trying to ascertain, like, what type of services I will need. Thankfully, Michael's been very, very helpful. 72 hours from my release, I was working for him. I had, got my ID like an hour after being released. We had went to DMV. And, I was committed to making sure that I am not defined by that one worst moment of my life. So was it nerve-wracking? Absolutely, right? The unknown will create that anxiety. But, thankfully, we're here. We're doing great work with his foundation that we're developing right now. And we're continuing to be part of the solution and no longer part of the problem.
You're probably the only guy that's had a pleasant trip to the DMV.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there at the DMV going like, this is amazing.
His face lit up when he said the DMV.
You know what? Everything was pleasant after almost being in prison 21 years. Like, I was just excited that I was sitting in traffic. Like, it was amazing. I was like, this is phenomenal.
So when people complain, like, around you now, do you just look at them like, do you know what you have? Do you know what this is?
It's very humbling. It's very humbling to be here today. My sentence was a very long sentence, a minimum of 25 years, maximum term of life in prison. And, you know, like I said, this whole process is very humbling for me, and we are committed to doing the right thing. So,
and you guys came from, sorry, Sam, you guys came from the same, I guess the same, you grew up together.
No, this is my brother's son. This is my nephew.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my God.
We lived around the corner from each other. I was there the day it happened. It was on Noe Street and Foster. I went to go cop some weed, right? I went up Foster. I made a right turn on Rogers Avenue. I made another right turn on Winthrop. I stopped. I got my weed, got back in my car. I took Winthrop to back to Noe Street and made another right turn to go back to the crib to go spark up. By the time I got back to Noe Street and Foster, it was taped off. We're talking like I left my block for 20 minutes, if that much. I came back and that had happened. That had happened. One incident changed my nephew's life for 20 years. This boy, excuse me, when he was a boy, he was in Bible college. There was no drugs. There was no street activity. He was in college. He was working. Both of them was working. He just went to defend his brother, his twin brother, and he made a wrong decision by bringing an illegal firearm to that situation. But that's all he was doing, was to go and defend his brother.
That's so crazy about that lifestyle, though, because like you can be working and working and working to get yourself out of it, and there's this one little thing, one momentary thing, and it's like now you're just another statistic. Boom, done.
Yes,
that's how life is, though, right? Like the decision making, right? You're here right now, and then the next minute. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now.
No, we don't.
Right.
I mean, you don't know what's going to happen 5 seconds from now. I mean, so that's what life is about, and only thing we can do is do the best with what we have, and we're doing that now.
Yeah.
And Michael, I read too. Did you have a time, especially when you started on The Wire, where you were going to you said you were spending your money and you were doing coke and like it was
a lot of drugs.
Yeah,
a lot of drugs.
It's hard when you don't have money and then all of a sudden you have it. You know.
Yeah. That's why I was just saying in another interview that I equate The Wire with like with my college years. I did a lot of growing up professionally. Yes, that was my breakout role and put me on the map. But the personal growth that I went through, that took place, that began on The Wire. I didn't have it all together once The Wire was over. In fact, it got worse when The Wire ended because that was I thought that was my claim to fame. I had no identity. I put everything into that character. People were calling me Omar on the street, and I was like, so what? My name is really Michael. I'm just gonna answer to Omar, and and it's just like I got the lines got blurred for me. I was like, something's wrong. So when the show ended, it was like, okay, I have to get back to me, but how do I do that? And then the fear of will I ever work again? It was just I was not equipped to deal with telling a character of that depth and then to have it end. I didn't know how to deal with that, and then so I did what I do best. I got high, and it was a long road to get back to the reality of like well, that's not going to work anymore. But that's why I look at my life and I look at my nephew's life, Dominic's life. I'm like we here for a purpose, and I'm looking at, there's a reason why he got released at this moment in my life, and he's here with this mindset, and I'm here with my mindset, and I'm like, okay, there's something greater to be done.
Did you to spoil if anyone who hasn't seen The Wire by this point, it's out there. What do I tell you? All right, sorry. End of season 5. It's when they killed you off The Wire, did they tell you? Did it really bother? Because you said you were so into that character. Did it really like? I hate to see this character die, or did you like the conclusion of it, or did you realize like, wow, there won't be a movie? I was also
like wondering the same thing. Like when you're living a character, like you just said, you were living that character in your personal life, but then they killed the character. I don't want people to
think I was going around robbing drug dealers, things of that nature. It was the darkness, the heaviness, the weight that Omar carried, the pain. That's what I carried. I carried that with me, and I didn't like necessarily wash that off. And it was a dark space to be in mentally to portray that character. And and I'm grateful that David and Ed and Nina gave me that opportunity. That show, it saved my life. It was me that I had to get my shit together. I'm grateful. I don't want to be like, that show. I don't mix it. The show was killing me. No, my ignorance was killing me. It was just that setting. It was just doing it in that setting. But looking back, again, I was talking the other day, and David apparently said that he was throwing shit at me, like to see. Let me see if he can handle this. Like he was my professor in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Giving me writing that I would never ever have challenged, given myself in my life. I didn't excel in school, so he was giving me like Shakespearean quotes and Greek mythology to say in my lines and do tell and shit. When the hell was I going to learn how to work that and make it sound gangster, but on the wire, right, and make it fit to my palate and my community and what I saw and make it believable and coming out of my mouth. Where else was I going to get an opportunity like that but on the wire? So like I learned a lot. I learned certain words, certain like he made me watch the Wild Bunch and what's the other and the Bells of Liberty Vow to understand the dichotomy of what Omar is built from, like that old Wild West when Omar and Brother Malone had that standoff with this caliber at this range. That's that Wild West shit. Like David, he. It was a master class for me. And you also, how hard is it too? Like, because your career is doing really well, you're always working. And can you talk about what were you supposed to do in Star Wars and what happened? Because that's got to be a very tough franchise.
In Solo.
In Solo, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, the character's name was Dryden Vox, and he was half mountain lion, half human. He was extremely sophisticated, very rich. He had been around the world, older guy, and he was and I think it was sort of a love triangle between Amelia Clark's character Kira and the young Han Solo. Not where it was overtly a love triangle, but there was definitely some a pissing contest going on for the girl's attention, right? And he's older and one is younger, so it was that thing also going on. Like young buck, I've been around the world. He's like, yeah, but the young buck, the young chick wants the young buck. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit of that energy going on, but the relationship of what was on the paper was definitely with Kira and Han Solo, but it was definitely there's some energy going on between my character.
It was in the air.
It was in the air, right? So we shot that, man, and then I rapped, and then I went on to Africa to shoot Red Sea Diving Resort, with Chris Evans and the whole gang out there, and then I get the phone call that 80% into the movie is only 20% left to shoot in the movie. Lucasfilms and the directors, the brothers who directed the infamous Legos movies, they didn't see eye to eye anymore and were fired. So they brought in Ron Howard, and they said, "Look, we want to. Can you steer the ship back in this direction, right? And how long would it take for you to do that?" He says, "Give me a few days to assess the damages, and I'll get back to you." When he got back, in regards to Michael K. Williams' character, if you want me to save it, we're gonna have to reshoot it in its entirety.
Oh wow! Was it because they wanted to change certain elements of how you were?
Yeah, I'm guessing. It was different. It was it was definitely a difference in direction. In direction, the brothers from Legos film. I think they were taking the franchise in a different direction, and it was not working for Lucasfilms. So it was about the end of the day with creative differences. So at the end of the day, they were asked to leave, and Ron Hart was brought in to steer it back a little in the opposite direction, more along the lines for Lucasfilms, and that's where the issue came in of my character needing to be reshot. I was just already on another job.
You were doing something else, yeah.
Yeah, and so they said, well, we want to keep the release date the same and reshoot it. What would that take? We need to get him right back right now, and that wasn't going to happen.
Did you beg the company, the production you were doing, like, look, it's a Star Wars franchise, let me, or did you just realize you couldn't?
There are certain things that I've been in Hollywood enough to know anything could happen, right? And I've seen a lot of crazy shit. That was one for the textbooks. That was just so out of left field. There's just some things, Jim, you just got to say, you know what? It's out of my hands. It's just out of my hands. That is like a freak accident. What are the odds that shit happened, right? So I accepted that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I was in Africa, and I just wasn't gonna do that. It just didn't make sense. It wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Cause we were already that day. I was contracted. I was there, right? That wasn't going to happen, and I just let it go.
Yeah, I guess you have to, but that's so. It's frustrating to have to pass up work, but you're passing it up for other work.
Yeah.
So
we call that rich people problems. In the world.
Yeah. By the way, Happen Leonard is what Michael's promoting. Season 3 is called The Two Bear Mambo, and it premieres tomorrow night on Sundance TV at 10 o'clock. And I guess you can. I don't know if that's the same on every. Whether it's the same on Dish as it is on cable as it is on Time Warner, I don't know. So just find Sundance TV.
Just find Sundance, damn it. Google it, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. And MichaelKennethWilliams.com, and it's BKBMG on Twitter, just to promote the social media.
Yes, sir.
When you're in jail, right, and you're doing, you're 20 years in, even if you're 1 year in, 6 months in, whatever it is, like, how do you balance out? Because when we were talking about, like, when clemency is even on the table, I would have to imagine that you have to limit your expectations because you can't get overly excited about something because the disappointment's just going to be way too much. So how do you balance between that and not just being completely hopeless about everything? Because you can't really exist that way either.
Right. So that's a good question. Thank you. I think it was simple for me. Like, my prison was a place of redemption for me.
From the beginning?
From the beginning. It started the moment the handcuffs got on. I come from a very good household. Michael's been very supportive. He's been actively involved in my life for all of my life, including the years that I was incarcerated. And, I have a very good support system. I was a good kid who made a bad decision. And, I had to understand that very early on during my incarceration. I realized I did something very wrong. And, I went to the precinct, turned myself in. This started from the very beginning. So with regard to balancing, right, if you're going to do the right thing, you're going to do the right thing. You're not looking for, this came, out the blue in a sense. It was, obviously I wanted to get out of prison. I didn't think I would be getting out early, of course. And, when you're doing the right thing, sometimes good things happen. But you should do the right thing just because it's right to do, not because you're expecting
Meaning
something.
that you do the right thing, and then if you don't get the result that you want, that you weren't doing it for the result anyway, you still did the right thing.
Absolutely.
And
At that
do
point,
the
I
right
would
thing
question.
for the right reasons.
Right.
I always say that, man.
Yeah, that's where I probably have gone wrong. I've done average things for terrible reasons.
Who hasn't?
You see?
Who hasn't? Please.
See? Well, we all learning. You know what I mean? So
We all work in progress.
every day is another day, another opportunity to get it right.
How do you avoid when you go to jail? Because I've spent one night in the Tombs and it was horrifying. I realized how vulnerable I am.
Me too.
It's
Which
scary.
ones? Damn right, it's scary.
Downtown, I was with another comedian named Louis Black. We spent the night, and I remember the worst thing was I had to shit, and
That little silver bowl. The silver.
and the door's open. I'm like,
Hey.
privacy, guys. There's 18 of us. There was no toilet paper. It was a nightmare, and I just remember this can't be I won't survive here at all. I won't do well.
Right.
How do you avoid when you go to? What about how long were you in for? One night?
Tombs. A weekend.
Oh, it's terrifying.
The weekend.
Oh, they
Yeah,
got
take
you
a
for
dump.
a weekend.
Yeah, I just realized what an alpha I'm not. When there was a guy standing there screaming for a bologna sandwich, and he was yelling at the guards, and I'm like, this guy's so comfortable being here. I'll never, ever be comfortable in this world. I will never be able to do that. How do you avoid trouble when you're in jail? Like, how do you avoid a guy cuts you on the line or whatever he does? How do you avoid what you have to do to protect yourself?
Right. So that's a good question. There are things that you can avoid, and then clearly there are things that you cannot. I consider, just God looking over me, a lot of prayers. And, I was, fortunate enough to be in situations where I mentored people. I ran into situations where I had met good men in prison who had also made bad decisions and also worked really hard to mentor people. But prison is prison, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of dynamics, a lot of challenges, and those are things that, I've often, tried to work on mediating. Michael talked about some of the things that I was involved in prison, everything from working with at-risk youth to being a counselor for people who were affected and infected with HIV, hepatitis C, to working to avoid conflict by working closely with a group called the Alternative to Violence Project. So it was those skills that I used to de-escalate situations that could really get out of control. But there were often times where there were situations where, things did get out of control. And at that point, you have to be smart enough to know that if you can't diffuse the situation, then step away from it. So in prison, often it is either you fight or flight, or you use those communication skills that you have to kind of try to work out situations and diffuse.
Would I do poorly in jail? Because my thing would probably be just to threaten to tell the warden if there was a problem.
I'm telling.
You would not do well. You would not do well. You have to, take
just
a lot
raise
of
your
skill. You
hand.
have to find that right medium.
I would
You
try
know
to be
what I'm
nice to the guards, and I'd point people out in front of everybody.
When did you feel like your career, like you were on the right path? Because you just said, like, after The Wire, you were like, I don't know, like, The Wire's over. I don't know what this is anymore. Like, when did you realize, like, you had a serious career as an actor that was going to be just fine?
Boardwalk Empire.
That was it.
Yeah. I realized then, I had to get my shit together. I mean, I kind of got, I started waking up a little bit when President Obama shouted out that he was watching The Wire and that he thought Omar was his favorite character. That put a spotlight on me that I'd never felt before, and that made me want to kind of, straighten up. But I was still struggling personally, like massively. But when I booked Boardwalk Empire, I knew it was time. I had to grow up. My sons were getting out of control. Their moms. I had to I had to be a man in their life. And I wanted to grow up, and I didn't want to screw up Boardwalk Empire. That I did not want to do, So I started my venture to grow up when I booked that show.
Were you looking every week at the script, going like, all right, do I get it this week or do I not get, like, because when you in a show
which
like
one?
In Boardwalk Empire, were you worried because you'd already been killed off one show?
Oh man, was I? I mean, you just never know. I mean, come on, look at the world Chalky lived in.
Yeah.
Especially season 2 with the Klan was around. I was like, oh, man, this is not going to end well for this dude.
But you made it. Was it the season finale or the next to the last?
I made it to the almost the season finale.
And it had to be super rewarding when people start calling you Chalky instead of Omar, because then you're like, oh my God, I made it. This is
honestly, I both of those names, man, and they go down in my history books as equally iconic. They helped to shape my career for different reasons, and I'm equally as proud of both of those. I telling Terry the other day, we were at an event for Bro Sis up in Harlem, the organization, and I was telling him, I said, after I left Boardwalk Empire, I realized something. It's like, oh shit, there's a whole world out here. And I was raised by HBO. I went from David Simon to Terry Winter. With a little bit of George Wolfe in the middle, sprinkled with some George Wolfe and Dee Reese. That I was practically raised by fucking wolves, with Martin Scorsese. I mean, come on. I mean, this is my. I came out the box working with these people basically, and
The Sopranos, even was a smaller part. Before that,
bro. But that's the same family that went on to Boardwalk Empire. Steve Buscemi. These are veterans. These are their professionalism is from another era, right? And that's what I was exposed to very early on in my career. And when I left Boardwalk Empire, it was a different beast out there. Like, people don't shoot on 35 millimeter film anymore. That was my career. Shot on 35 mil. You know what I mean? 3 takes, keep that shit moving. It was, you can't. That film is expensive. You had to bring a certain A game to the set. There was no time to chit chat and figure it out on the camera. You gotta.
It's costing people money now.
Man, listen. So I don't know. It's just a different animal.
We have to wrap up with Michael. Travis said we have a minute left. Before we let you go, obviously you're promoting Hap and Leonard, the Two Bear Mambo. It premieres tomorrow night, season 3, on Sundance TV at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
You can
Probably
go out
our
there and
best
find
season,
it.
by the way.
Oh, you happy with it?
I'm extremely happy with this season. They were all individually beautiful, but I think this one, we found the niche. I think James and I were in the pocket as far as our banter, our rhythm, and our connection with each other. And come on, we got the infamous Mr. Lou Gossett Jr. It's in the story this year is incredibly timely.
You know, it was a good movie with him. Before we go, was when him and Martin Sheen when he played the new landlord. Did you ever see that one where he was?
I think so.
I don't remember the name of it. I always spoil interviews by referencing something no one in the room has seen but me.
Don't worry about not getting Jim's references.
Okay,
Nobody
right,
understands.
I know. Officer and a Gentleman. I'm sure Lou Gossett.
We saw that one. Yeah. There you go.
He references The Omen 2 like 3 times a week, and I'm like, nobody saw The
Thank
Omen
you.
2.
It was all about one.
The Guardian. The Guardian.
Oh, The Guardian.
Yes.
That was a damn good movie.
Yeah, Martin Sheen and him.
That's right.
He played like the landlord of the building, and Martin Sheen was the tenant trying to get rid of him, and at the end he helps Martin Sheen. It was a good movie. It was good. I don't know why I had to wreck everything. I could have just shut up, but Travis said The Guardian, and I kept going.
Yeah, you
I
did.
have no instincts.